Zelenskyy. He is using Ukraine for his own electoral purposes. He does not understand that this will have much more serious and dangerous consequences. The radicalization of Hungarian society and its anti-Ukrainian government or sentiment. By not helping us, he is doing Putin a favor. Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is June the 10th, 2025, 11:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:20 p.m. there in the evening in Kyiv. Yesterday, I put out two videos about Viktor Orban, lots of information about his apparent flip-flop into a support of Ukraine. Those videos got a lot of coverage, over 500,000 views, because I think people are interested in understanding, because he's been such an outspoken critic of Ukraine. His friendship with Putin is publicly known, his friendship with Trump. So we're trying to figure out what is the flip-flop. So I stand completely behind all of my videos yesterday. And today, this morning, first thing, I started digging and I have figured it out. Why Viktor Orban has apparently flipped pro-Ukraine. Now, if you didn't see the videos yesterday, let me start with this 20-second clip of Orban speaking in France, being interviewed. But ladies and gentlemen, I know and am very confident why he did this. It is because of President Zelenskyy, and I'm going to show it to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, growing quickly, and we deeply appreciate it. That subscription and that like encourages us. We work 24/7 for this, and I want to say thank you. Let's get to the video.
Regarding military events, if you're okay with bombing in Russia and Ukraine, do you see this as a risk of a wider war in Europe? No. Why? Because the Russians are too weak for that. They can't even beat Ukraine, so they can't really attack NATO. So why deny Ukraine protection? Ukraine is a sovereign country, just like yours. You seem to want to deny them the right to defend themselves. Ukraine has every right to protect itself. Moreover, they're doing it heroically.
Oh, Ukraine has every right. Russia's weak. They can't even beat Ukraine. Ukrainians are heroes. And it's like the world went, what on earth did we just hear? Well, I'm here to tell you, Zelenskyy is saying, and I'm going to show it to you, that's a historic mistake you were making, Mr. Orban. And Zelenskyy telling the world through what I'm going to show you, don't be fooled by Orban. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump straight to it. I was blown away, but happy, because I knew there had to be something. So this is Velaz Online, and this is a Hungarian publication. You may say, well, they're not big, or they're big. I don't know anything about them other than this. Their journalist sat down with President Zelenskyy for this interview. So here we go, Velaz Online. It's in English, and I've highlighted the important parts for you. This is written by Voros Zabols. Excuse me if I'm wrong there on the pronunciation. What is the release date? Looking green here. It is June the 10th, 2025. That's today. So it starts with Viktor is making a historic mistake, an exclusive interview with President Zelenskyy. So a long interview here, but I've highlighted the portions that will confirm why yesterday was so goofy. His policy is, unfortunately, in the yellow there, anti-Ukrainian and anti-European. He is using this in his domestic policy. He wants to turn the war in Ukraine to his own advantage in the elections. That is dishonest. Volodymyr Zelenskyy tells Velaz Online about Viktor Orban, the president of Ukraine, who after 1,200 days of full-scale war gave his first interview to us among all Hungarian media outlets, also talked about why it was a serious mistake for the Hungarian prime minister to bet on good relations with Vladimir Putin. We also asked him about our bilateral spy scandal that broke out in early May. We do have everything in our possession about the Hungarian government's posters depicting him, the end of the war, the peace talks in Istanbul, and possible territorial concessions, as well as the difficulties of mobilization. An exclusive interview from the office of the president of Ukraine in Kyiv. They talk about many different topics, but I have already prepped this, and that's about the strikes and the attacks. But let's come down to where they talk about Orban. And I have it highlighted for you. The first thing they talk about is the mobilization, and Zelensky makes a statement about why the West is not supporting, in his opinion. He says, meanwhile, Ukraine is struggling with mobilization. This is the interviewer, and the recruitment of people aged 18 to 24, which began in February, is not progressing as hoped. Zelensky in purple answers, mobilization is a problem in every war. Ukraine is no exception. As we want the war to end, people are getting tired. We can mobilize 27,000 people a month, while the Russians mobilize 40 to 50,000 because their losses are greater. Mobilization is possible in our country because of the state of war. No one else has any experience in how to stop Putin. Great statement. And that has not changed for 3 years. Zelensky constantly says, we know how to beat them. Just help us. We were the ones who stopped him. You were right in that this is a difficult period. We did not mobilize 18 to 24-year-olds, but offered them one-year contracts. I have never spoken about this before, but since you asked, I will tell you what I think, because it is a sensitive issue. Guys, this is just straight out of Zelensky's office today, June 10th. I do not believe that we should mobilize people from the age of 18, as the leaders of other countries have thought. Operation Spiderweb has shown that it is not the number of people that matters, but weapons and technology and money and exerting pressure. The sanctions would target the money that the Russians are using to finance the war. However, when it comes to sanctions, as Western partners list the reasons why they did not decide to impose them, they include Ukraine did not mobilize people aged 18 and above. There you go. Question on mobilization. Now, he gave an inside answer, and I wanted the world to see that. Now, here we go. He says, let's talk about Hungary then. The Kyiv-based rating group Research Institute found in February that Viktor Orban is the least popular politician among Ukrainians after Russian President Vladimir Putin and Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko. Only 11% of respondents had a positive opinion of him. So in the purple, Zelensky trolls a little bit. He asks, the Hungarian prime minister? Yes, the reporter replies. Does he deserve this? Here's Zelensky's answer. Viktor Orban's position does not reflect the position of the whole of Hungary. This is the difference between Hungary and Russia. In Russia, Putin's position is the same as the one held by his society. Viktor's policy, unfortunately, here you go, guys, anti-Ukrainian and anti-European. He is using this in his domestic policy. He wants to turn the war in Ukraine to his own advantage in the elections. That is dishonest. He calls him dishonest. Do you think I am happy that Viktor is in the same company as Putin and Lukashenko in that survey? No, I'm not happy about it. He is flooding society with false information, which is radicalizing people. It's damaging our bilateral relations. I've already mentioned passportization. Well, this was followed by giant billboards with pictures of our leaders on the Russian side. Isn't something similar happening in Hungary? Hungary is a member of the EU and NATO. It cannot behave as if it hates both. I understand that there is EU bureaucracy and there are domestic issues. I don't even want to talk about Hungarian domestic issues, but there is a reason why he ended up at the bottom of the list. I wish Viktor was at top. After all, we are neighbors. The reporter asked, why is he behaving like this? Zelensky answers, perhaps he thinks he can get what he wants through oil and gas, and that is why he is betting on maintaining good relations with Putin and bad relations with Ukraine. He thinks he has made the right choice, but I am convinced that he will lose. Okay, I'll continue. But you see, this is the June 10th article coming out, Hungarian publication. Orban yesterday making these pro-Ukrainian statements. You think Orban may have seen this interview already? It's possible, but here it is in print. Facts. We continue. Zelensky says, and I say this from a historical perspective, not because of the elections. I don't want to interfere in those. I have always sought productive dialogue with him, Orban, but his actions and operations are crossing the boundaries of Ukraine's sovereignty, and he has no right to cross that line. Victor always says to me, ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. The new U.S. president will come and he will tell Putin. I replied, believe me, Ukrainians want that too, but there are conditions. Question from the reporter. When he visited Kyiv last July, were you aware that he would be in Moscow a few days later? Zelenskyy replies, I didn't know about it. It was his decision, but he could have told me. He comes to visit, talks about bringing the war to an end, and then he goes to Russia. Did the Russians know about this? Probably yes. It couldn't have been that suddenly he just decided to go to Russia after his meeting here. He knew in advance. He knew what he was doing. Is that an honest relationship? Zelenskyy asks. No, it isn't. He answers his own question. He's going somewhere else to discuss us. Of course, he can go anywhere he wants. He's the leader of a sovereign country, but he went to talk about war, a war that affects us, the Ukrainian people. He really could have said something. The reporter asked, the latest stage in the deterioration of bilateral relations is the so-called spy scandal. The Ukrainian Security Service, the SBU, made an unusual public announcement about the arrest of alleged Hungarian spies. See, that was unfolding in May and early June, and now Orban comes out and makes this statement. To which Hungary responded with a similar move in downtown Budapest. And the detention of another suspect was extended shortly before our conversation. Are you not concerned that there is no way out of this escalation? So what is happening is Ukraine is arresting Hungarian spies. Hungary is arresting Ukrainian spies. What does Zelenskyy say to this? There is no problem if we respect each other. That is how problems can be solved. Let's put it this way. Budapest has tried to interfere in Ukrainian internal affairs in dozens of different ways. You could not have heard about these. We stopped the illegal distribution of passports in Transcarpathia before the war. Most of the cases were dealt with quietly among ourselves. Why did we make the current case public? It's an old story. We have additional photos and videos of various meetings organized by the Hungarian Military National Security Service on Hungarian territory, which we will also publish if necessary. I don't want to threaten anyone, Zelenskyy says, but we do have everything in our possession. This includes how Hungarian security services paid its intelligence assets. We have documented everything. The Hungarian network has been developed since 2021, and military-related questions were raised in 24 and 25. The most recent information transfer took place on March 25th this year. Zelenskyy continues, why was it necessary to look for our vulnerabilities in the Ukrainian-Hungarian border region? Why did the Hungarians want information about where we had deployed S-300 air defense missile systems there? That's what they were interested in, knowing our air defense. They even had a list of questions on their phones. Well, we have them too. 11 questions, including what the people of Transcarpathia would say about the presence of Hungarian peacekeepers and where our various military units are stationed. How should we respond in times of war? I am not saying that Budapest wants something, but it does not, then to whom it is gathering information for. I asked NATO officials whether they had asked Hungarians to collect data on such matters, and they replied they had not. I am the president of a country at war, Zelenskyy says. How would you react if you were in my place? I don't blame Victor. I blame the KNBSZ, Hungarian Security Services. But you can see the tension there. I feel it's very possible Orban got a piece of this article before going to France and putting out that statement. Now, it goes to the last part. Guys, Hungary is pushing towards election time. We talked about that last night on the video with Gertis, and that's another reason that Orban is wanting to maintain his power. But you are looking at an image right now of billboards in Hungary already pushing toward the election. Zelenskyy in the red here. It's small text. I'll read it to you. He says, I did not give him permission to do that. Exclamation point. A photo taken on June 3rd, 2025. This is 7-day-old picture. Shows a pedestrian walking past billboards with posters that are part of a campaign by the Hungarian government with the lettering, quote, They would admit Ukraine into the EU, but we would pay the price. Vote no in Budapest. The Hungarian government, in a letter, asked citizens to vote on Ukraine's membership of the European Union. The poster shows European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and President of the European People's Party Manfred Weber. Are you kidding me? And they didn't even have permission. The reporter says, and we'll close here, you may not blame Victor, but in the meantime, he is asking the Hungarian people to vote on Ukraine's EU membership, and the country is being plastered with a second series of posters. It's good that I'll finally get to meet the person whose portrait I see off my balcony every day. What was your reaction to this campaign? Listen, Zelenskyy. He is using Ukraine for his own electoral purposes. He does not understand that this will have much more serious and dangerous consequences. The radicalization of Hungarian society and its anti-Ukrainian government or sentiment. By not helping us, he is doing Putin a favor. That is why I said that Victor is making a serious historic mistake. That is my personal opinion. I cannot smile and give him hugs when I see what is really going on, because reality does not have to be different from politics. If he is ready for a proper relationship, we will find framework for it. But how can he use my face for his own election? I did not give him permission to do that. I am the president of another country. It's wrong for him to use me for his domestic policies. There are no Orban billboards in other countries because it would not be ethical. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I will tell you this. I was driving a couple of years ago down south U.S., and I did see an Orban billboard. It was about him going to speak at a conservative meeting in Texas. I actually saw that with my eyes, and I said, what on earth am I looking at? But there you have it. So Zelenskyy calling it a historical mistake, saying again, do not be fooled by Orban. It pushes us back right to what we were talking about last night, the Great Divide. On the left, Macron, Merz, Starmer, Zelenskyy. Verse, it's looking like we're seeing Orban, Le Pen, Trump, and Putin. Ladies and gentlemen, always want to provide you facts. This is the article. I just read it to you, and I believe it's highly possible that is why Orban dropped that carrot about Ukraine. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, and commenting. We will be back at you soon.